Hello and welcome. This is Ahmed Al-Ghannam. My project for today is to do online analysis for Twitter data streaming regarding the tourism industry. This project is under the supervision of Dr. Murdona Muqaddam. Let's go and talk about the introduction about the project. The goal of the project is to get the data from an online streaming social media, which is Twitter. Take this data and pass it to Kafka, where we can have the producer and the consumer arrange the channel and the number of messages and stuff, and then send this data from the producer to the consumer, get it in the listener, and do some Spark streaming processing and get the result and upload the result in HBase. And from HBase we are going to upload the data or load the data to Hive. The language that I'm gonna use in this project is Java. This is the process flow. We will have Twitter and we will have the Twitter client. Twitter client is gonna communicate with the Kafka producer. We will have where we will have the setup of Kafka and then pass the data from the producer to the consumer with some specification like the number of messages, the length of how frequent we are going to upload to send the data from the producer to the consumer. Take this data in the consumer level, do some Spark streaming processing, and then the result we are going to pass it to load it into HBase, and from HBase we are going to save it in Hive. So let's go to our virtual machine Cloudera, and here we will have our let's open our readme file so to go through the process. First of all, we'll make sure that the Kafka server is running. We will run the Kafka server, and then we will create our topic, which is tourism for today, and then we are going to restart our HBase because this is where we are going to save our data. Then we will run the producer application that we will communicate with the Twitter client, and then send the data to the consumer application. We'll run the consumer application, make sure that the consumer is saving the data into HBase, and then finally we will run the Spark SQL to make sure project, so to make sure that configuration is configuring the HBase to Hive configuration is correctly, and then we will save the data from HBase to Hive. So let's go by running our command folder. We'll have this command which is running the Kafka, which I already ran it in the background to save some time. And then also if we go to the next command, which is the creating the topic in Kafka, so which is the same thing. I made sure also the tourism topic has been created. I make it with one partition and one replication factor, so to reduce the amount of traffic, because my machine is also weak, so normally if you have multiple listener, you can send multiple you can partition the message, and you can have replication factor more than one. And then this is where we are going to run the process to restart our HBase. So let's start by this one. Let me open a new shell. Make sure that the new shell is restarting the HBase, stopping the master because it was running before, and then hbase-master daemon is stopped, and then it's going to be restarted again. And then also we are going to start our hbase-regionserver, and once it's done we will go through the leave it. Yeah, it's done. So basically we are going to the Java application. Here I have the producer and the consumer application, so let's go for the producer. If we open here, I have a configuration file, configuration class for the Kafka configuration, which is basically the server, the port, and what is the topic. So let's open that configuration file so to see what's going on. Yeah, this is the server, which is my localhost, and port is 1992. The topic is tourism, and the serialization way is bootstrap-server. Okay, and then we are going to go through the producer application. Let's open it. I'm gonna run it while I'm gonna go through the code, so it will not take much time. Basically, I have here I have here some imports that is needed to be able to access the Twitter, make the Twitter client, and read the data to read the data from Twitter client to Kafka process, Kafka producer, I mean. So first of all, yeah, this is the client, which is a Twitter client, and then we were going to have a producer, Kafka producer, from class called Kafka producer, and then the message, how many messages that I'm gonna send in from the producer to the consumer. So basically my queue is gonna be 25. I choose random number, and the track items that I'm gonna track in Twitter is basically anything related to tourism. I wrote track item tourism, tourist, and tour guide. So in anything that comes under this category, it will be logged in my system. And then I'm gonna go to the main. Main is gonna run the producer. So basically I'm gonna create, I'm gonna make sure that I have the Twitter client is working, and I'm getting the host is my stream, and then term is my terms is in Kafka is the track terms that I already defined it here, and then I'm gonna authenticate the API of Twitter with this authentication token, and then I'm gonna create the host client by this commands. Then I will have the client hostbird client, and then I am gonna return the hostbird client. And finally, this is the interesting part where we have the producer. The producer will have some properties. Basically, again, is gonna read the data from the local machine under port 9092, and this is the configuration of the Kafka. Okay, and then I'm gonna go to the main. I defined a logger where I'm gonna run on the screen what's going on. So basically the first thing is the setup, and then calling the Twitter client with my message, and then connect the Twitter client. Here I'm gonna make sure that the producer is already running, create Kafka producer. Okay, and then I'm gonna go through something very interesting here. If I close the application, the producer and the client is still running in the background. So I need to make sure that I stop it by myself. So I'm gonna when I shut down the hook, I make sure that the client is stopped and the producer is stopped, and also I'm logging what's going on. Application is not is now stopping. Sorry, is now. And then closing the producer and closing the client. Now sending the data from Twitter to Kafka. I'm sending the messages every 5 seconds. So basically, if the client is not yet done, I'm gonna check the message. If the message is null, so I'm gonna read the message. I'm gonna pull the message from the queue every 5 seconds, and then print out the tracker, print stack tracer, and then stop the client. If the try fail, I'm gonna go for the catch. The catch will give me what is the error that happened and track the error and stop the client. If there is message, the message was not null. If there is a message, then I'm gonna log this message into the logger again. I'm gonna create JSON object out of this message, and then transfer this JSON object to string and log it. And then I'm gonna create a tweet. This tweet is of type tweet, the class I created here. If we look at this class, this is basically what's the content of the tweet that I'm gonna use, which is the ID text is retweeted, is replied, hashtag, username, timestamp, and language. Here there is another interesting part. I'm gonna send only the tweets that come in English. I could have done this into in the streaming part, in the Spark streaming, but I found out if I do this, that means I'm gonna load all the data for all the language from the Twitter client to the producer, and from the producer to the listener, and then start doing the processing. So I choose to check here itself if the data is not, if the data is equal English, then only I'm gonna log this data and run the producer. Otherwise, any language else, I will neglect it. I can also make some or if I want multiple language, I can say if the tweet.getLang equal English, or the tweet.getLang equal Arabic, or whatever language that I want to include in my process. Then basically I'm gonna send the data from this producer through for my my topic, which is the tourism, under Google's Google Son, and then on completion I will write again. I will do the I record the metadata, and if there is any error, I'm gonna log the error. So basically this is the main process of the producer. And then here, once I get the data as the JSON object of the tweet, I will need to return it as a tweet again. So basically I'm gonna get this, the get tweet is taking a JSON object and taking the attributes of the JSON object and fill the tweet object. Basically the tweet comes as the ID is ID underscore str, and this is all are defined in the API of the Twitter itself. And then I'm gonna put this under the set ID in the tweet, and then I have the text, set text, and I have retweeted at, and this is the retweet, and then in reply of a status, and this is set in reply, and then the hashtag. The hashtag actually is interesting because the hashtag in the tweet is can be an array. So I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna make a for loop on the hashtag in my object and fill the data in this hashtag list. And then finally I'm gonna send the username and screen name as a screen name, which is the username that I'm using, and the timestamp and the language. This is basically the producer application. So let's go through the listener, and where we might have another. If you can see now, the producer is already reading data from the client and started producing it, but there is no client yet, there is no listener yet. So I'm gonna run the consumer application, so we'll see what's happening. Okay, so now I'm gonna make another console to make sure that the data is okay. So I'm gonna say a new console view. Okay, I have this console view. I have two consoles now. Okay, here is I'll set this to the let me make it more clear. I'm gonna use here to have the producer only and pin it. So here I have the producer, and on the other side, on this side, I'm gonna have the listener only. So I'm gonna check the listener. Yeah, it is checked, and I'm gonna pin it here. So now I have the listener and the producer hand by hand. Both are working. So let's go through the listener and see what the listener is doing. Again, the same import things. and I made also logger where I'm gonna log the data that happens in the client, Twitter client and producer. Sorry, I'm still in the producer, sorry. Save it. Let's open the listener, which is this one. Okay, so here is the listener. I have the import also some Spark this time, and Google JSON and stuff. So what we are going to do is we are going to receive the data from the producer under which topic? Under the tourism topic. So I created the listener. Okay, set application listener, and this application is gonna read the data from a topic, from the topic tourism. Okay, and here is the configuration, the same thing. This is a Kafka server and port, and I'm gonna put this group basically under a variable name called group1, which is have all the configuration ID. So now this is an interesting part. I got the data from the producer. I'm gonna transfer it as a stream and then do some modifications through the Spark streaming and see how it works. So I got the data, I made a stream out of it, and then from this stream I'm gonna create my JSON, my Google JSON object, and for each data in this RDD I'm gonna print tourism, listener tourism, and then the tweet itself. So this is the process that I'm gonna do. I get the data for each tweet. I'm gonna write this command. Okay, and then I'm gonna at the end I'm gonna populate this into HBase. So before that I'm gonna run the Spark SQL. Let's go through it as well. Yeah, Spark SQL basically is gonna map the data that I'm gonna use in Hive, from HBase to Hive. I created two table name is tourism. I created two column family. One is default and one is general. The default is basically the tweet info, and the general info as a column family. And then I'm creating an application set application, which is a Spark SQL. I'm defining that my table input table is table name, which is I defined it earlier, which is tourism, and then from the tweet itself. Okay, number of I'm gonna return number of rows in the table from HBase, and then this is HBase count will show me the data that's been retrieved, and then again creating a new tweet from the HBase and return the tweet itself. The tweet is gonna have the data, the text from the column family text. Column family default will have the retweet, and we have the language, we have also timestamp and username. I think I missed here the hashtag and the retweet, so we can do it, but the hashtag, to do it again I need to do the for loop and stuff, so I just ignore it for now. And also I can also do this. I hashed just for fun. I hashed the retweet part, but I can add it as well. If you can see, all of them is byte data. So the data type is byte, like byte array, and that's it. So table data is gonna be SQL context. And then this SQL context will have the table name, and I'm gonna select user and count from the tourism from tourism by group by username. So basically I'm gonna get the count of all the users of all the tweets that this user has been created, and is it retweeted or not, also how many has been retweeted, and then also select language. For my case, I already only make it English, so it's gonna be 1. So that's it for now. This is just a configuration file. Java, again, the RDD is gonna take the HBase RDD, create JSON JSON object, and then get the configuration and put the data into HBase and return the HBase RDD. Okay, so let's run this as well. Sorry, I'm trying to talk fast because I have limited time. Let's make sure that Spark is also working. So we'll go here and make, yeah, Spark is working, and we'll run another console, new console view. Okay, and it has the let's choose in this console view the Spark, so we'll see the Spark only and pin it. Did I choose the Spark? No, still. Yeah, this is the Spark. So now I have the producer is working, listener, and a Spark SQL. What happened here? Let's choose the listener here. So I have the listener, yeah, producer, listener, and Spark SQL. All of them are working fine. So we need to see what's these guys are writing and see the output. Basically, to see the output, we are going to use Hive. Sorry, Hue. The machine is a little bit slow now because of all of this running in the background. Meanwhile, let's run the configuration for the Hive. So we need to have a new shell. Yeah, in this new shell, I'm gonna run the Hive configuration. We'll open the Hive configuration file and see what's going on here. Basically, Hive configuration is running is making sure that the table is open, exists. I'm just going to echo, showing that the tourism table is already generated in Hive, and if it is not there, deleting how to delete it. I made the echo to show the deleting process, and then drop the table. This is the configuration file that I'm talking about. Let's open it and see how we are creating a table in Hive from HBase. So this is the create table command, create external table tourism, and then this is the attributes of that. And as I created external, so it's gonna read the data and put it, and the table name is tourism, and basically this is like pretty straightforward create table command. So let's run this one in the shell that we entered, so we make sure that everything is fine. I'm gonna do cd and go to the command prompt for cd. Yeah, now I'm under command here. I'm gonna run this folder, this file. Now it is configuring Hive, so if there is data, it's gonna create the table. If not there, it's gonna and if I want to drop it, it's gonna be dropped. So let's go to Hive and see what's happening now. Let's check first of all. Sorry, not Hive, I mean Hue. Let's see from the Hue the HBase thing, and then from HBase we will see also the Hue Hive table. Sorry for that delay. It's a bit the machine is a bit slow now because of all of these background items. Trying to connect. finally here is opening. Yep, I'm gonna go to the HBase. Yeah, I have the finally I got the cluster tourism, and here is the tweets that I got. I have tweet at today is it's 2 a.m. It's have been logged at 25th of September at 2 a.m. and that's it. Basically, this is the data that's related to tourism here, and the language as I chose it was English, and this is the tourism industry, the tourism potential of whatever. Have you ever dreamed of a career that lets you travel? Anything related to travel and tourism industry. So we can use this, and maybe we can use it later on in doing some analysis, the word count, and check how many people are interested in which countries, and what is the countries that's not we need to improve or market for the tourism industry in that countries. So this is the project in general, and then let's go and check the Hive also. Editor, Hive, and let's refresh the data base. Yeah, by the time it's gonna refresh, I am gonna run a SQL statement. I'm gonna stop the application so I can make the system is more faster. So now I stopped everything. Let's see the output that I already have. I already had from the application. So the database is running is this select asterisk from. I can see the table here. I already made the tweet one earlier to make sure it was just for testing. Now this one, and then execute. So basically what we did is, so far we took the data through Twitter client into Kafka. Kafka takes the data, store it in the gather it, make a queue out of it from the producer to the consumer. The consumer takes the data and to Spark streaming we did some modification. Basically I just print out what is the tweet itself. I moved it from to JSON object and try to write it down, and then take this data and save it into HBase, and from HBase we created a table with these column families and basically save the data that we are looking for. Here you can see tourism ID, tourism username, tourism, the tweet itself that has been entered, and is it retweet? Yes. So you can see that this same tweet is retweeted, that's why the flag is true, and timestamp for now is null. I think I missed it when I'm reading the data when creating the table, but and the English the language is English, and also the hashtag, as I was saying, it's we were supposed to add it. But this is how it works in general, and thank you very much, and I wish that was a good explanation. Sorry for if it was a little bit long or fast. Hopefully that gives you an idea about the project. Thank you for watching my checking out my project. In the description below you will find a detailed description about the project and checkpoints where you can jump to the sections that you are interested to listen to.